When I explain my life to a lot of people, the first emotion I get is like disappointment or disgust. But the longer I explain and make people understand what my life is and why things are done that way and whatnot, they come to understand and have less of those emotions within them. Growing up, I've understood that we are all human and we all make mistakes in our own way, no matter what way that is. So judging someone else by the wrongdoings of themselves is kind of, first of all, not really your job to do so, and second of all, you are worthy of forgiveness, and so is the person in front of you at all times. There is a series called Top Boy, and for the most part, it's pretty good at accurately depicting growing up as a kid in London. Of course, not everything is accurate and a lot of it's over exaggerated, but they do get a few things really on point, and I appreciate that. At the same time, again, it is very dramatised and blown up a little bit. But there are certain things that I believe are really, really accurate, and not only are they accurate, but it really gets you to understand as well. There is a character called Sully, and Sully is a bit of a hothead, and a lot of people look at him and think he's a bit of a dickhead. And I'd probably agree with you. But there's one thing that always stands out to me when I've watched Top Boy, and that is his relationship with Jason. And he first meets this boy when this boy is trying to sell him some tissues, and he ends up stealing Sully's phone, and he runs off with it. Later on down the line, Sully bumps into him. He tries to get his phone. He has to do something else. The kid runs away with his phone again. Anyway, later on, he calls him up and he gets him to get food for him, and the relationship starts between these two people. Now, Jason is a kid that's heavily neglected and abused, and his mum's a drug addict, and the mum kind of brings around guys. I don't know if they're different guys or whatnot, but they abuse him. This one guy really abuses him really badly. And then you have Sully, a very powerful person, a person that will do anything. Violence is his day to day, and and then they kind of, you can see Sully trying to look after him in certain ways, like making sure he's brushing his teeth or making sure he's at, and they grow really close with each other. And there is one point that really stands out to me, and that is when Jason goes home one day and he gets abused by this guy once again. And Jason calls Sully, and Sully is there within an instant. He runs in and he beats the shit out of this guy. Sully beats him up really badly. And Jason's there, and he gets up and he says, "You okay, Jason?" And he slanders his mum. He says, "You okay?" And he looks after him, right? And I find it kind of sad because there's a lot of things that Sully will carry on to tell Jason, and things that he'll do. And it's the only way that Sully knows how to care for someone. And he does truly and honestly care for Jason. And he's doing it only in the way that he knows how. And that is the way he does. Some people would say, oh, maybe it's not great that that's like him smashing another geezer's face in. He shouldn't have done that in front of Jason or whatnot, right? There's loads of different ways of looking at it. But to me, I understand that he's only doing care in the way that he knows how to. There's another movie called Oliver Twist, and I was obsessed with Oliver Twist as a kid, the musical. And I remember I watched this film many of times, And I came into school one day and we were basically revising this story, right? And we were reading it, whatever. Well, I wasn't reading it. But the question comes across, is Vagin a bad person or a good person? Now, if you've never watched Oliver Twist, basically who Vagin is he would take in kids, he will teach them how to steal, and he would give them a home, he'd give them food, and in return they would steal things, and it would, that's how it would go, right? Now, for me, I said he's a good person. That's how I viewed Vagin, and that's how I got taught. But every single other kid in my class put down as he's a bad person because of what he does to these kids and how he teaches them to be criminals. But for me, especially at the time, I didn't know no better. But also, even when I grow up, even though I understand that Vagin may not be the best, I understand that he is only caring in the way he knows how. He is trying to help in the way he knows how to. And I think it's kind of unfair to judge him and to say he is a bad person, because I don't think that is the case. I think he does bad things, but I don't think he's a bad person. There are times where he tries to protect the kids from this guy called, I think Victor or something, I forget what his name is, but it's a very evil person. And he is really evil. He's mean to these kids. He abuses them, smacks them around. And Vagin tries to protect them, as much as possible. And, I think for me, it's understanding that it is kind of, they scratch his back, he scratches theirs in a way. And obviously, as a kid, your back should be the only one getting scratched. As a kid, you shouldn't need to scratch someone else's back. But when you're in such a dire place in your life, you're an orphan or you're a kid on the streets dealing drugs, whatever it is, you're in a spot where you feel like you need to scratch someone else's back in order for them to scratch your back. And sometimes it just comes down to that. And the person in front of you may not be the best, but they're only caring in the way they know how. And I think it's unfair to label that person as a bad person. Not to say that any of it's okay or good, but I feel sad for people like Jason and people like Sully. I know many people that are just like both of them in my life, and it's upsetting because the only reason, or a lot of the reason for why or who they are, is due to their upbringing and environment that they were in, which they had no control over, no choice. And that's sad. It really is. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.